show pure lineage of these birds. What we have is parent stock, which are actually confined and regulated, and the farmer might never end up with a pure breed of these birds. What we have is a hybrid after the crossing to come up with this F1. On the meat production, the farmer will see the broiler and they'll say more meat in 28 to 42 days. But we need to understand which is this breed that gives us the meat. And I was talking about the Cobb 500, which has some features of giving you around 1.5, 1.8 kgs in 30 to 42 days. We do have the Ross 308, we do have the Arborecas. This is where most of our hatcheries source their parent stock from. And what we get is a hybrid, which even if you are to incubate this fertilized egg, what you will get will not give you the same production. I hope that is very clear. You will not get the same production, and it keeps depreciating as you deviate away from the F1, which is the hybrid which we get. So if you breed to F2, 50% is gone. If you breed F3, another 50 of the 50 is gone. By the time you are landing at F4, there are no characteristics, there are no traits to live up to. And that is why I'm saying we have a big challenge, especially on the improved kienyeji. When it comes to the improved kienyeji, we do have the Kenbro breed from Kenchik. We do have the Croiler breed from Kukuchik. We do have the Rainbow Rooster from Kukuchik. We do have the Sasso from Silverlands. And I believe this is where most of the farmers are really trying to cross their own breeds on this. And the production will never be the same. Because an improved bird, you are guaranteed around 220 eggs. You are guaranteed a weight of 2 kilos at around 3 months. You are guaranteed a continuous production. You are guaranteed this bird will not be broody. And so the farmers have realized the only issue they are having with these birds is the broodiness. What they are not understanding is that you will not get the same production from the incubated eggs even when they hatch as compared to getting the F1. And this is why I'm really pushing for this agenda that as practitioners, as professionals, we must talk to our farmers to ensure that if they want more production, they can try as much as possible to be going back to collect the F1. Because what they have is pseudo parent stock. I hope we are together on that. So the genotype is the genetic makeup of the organism. For example, the genetic makeup of my height should be short, right? It doesn't matter who I become. It doesn't matter how much food you give me. It doesn't matter which environment you put me in. I'm not going to grow past 5'4". Are we together up to that point? But I can grow bigger depending on the environment. There are things that are dependent on the environment, which is what we'll discuss later. What I want you to admire and to accept is the genetic makeup, which we can't change. We can't change my height based on any environmental factor. It is fixed. Sawa. We cannot change the genetic makeup of a broiler bird. Neither can we change the genetic makeup of a layer bird. It's already fixed and set. What we can determine is whether they will attain their potential through management. If you go to where I come from, Ukambani, and you got a cow, which is a Fresian. Most of our Fresian cows is just the color, that is the Fresian. The genetic makeup is not of a Fresian. And you feed it silage, and you feed it pak chong, and you give it dairy meal. The environment you are putting that cow in is good enough for a Holstein Fresian to give you 25 liters. But no matter how much you pump into that cow, will it give you 25 liters? Because the genetic makeup of that cow is probably a 5-liter maximum production. Anything you give it past that is wastage. This is the concept we have to appreciate on genotype. So let us ensure our farmers understand this so that they can know they can only influence the environment, which makes 50% of the production. The genetic makeup has to be sorted somewhere else. I'm really hoping that maybe the government, the regulations, and the investors can come in and try to improve our breeds in chicken so that we can end up with our own breeds here locally. Because across all this, the only breed that we have in chicken in terms of high production chicken was the Calro breed, which I don't know whether. The broiler we are importing, the arborecas we are importing, the Isa Brown, the Highland, Kenbro, we are bringing it in from elsewhere. Croiler, we are bringing it in from India. Kenbro is from France. Croiler is from India. Rainbow Rooster is from India also. So you have to understand this. The Rose 308 is from UK, the Cobb 500. Once you understand that we have to outsource this genetic makeup, you will appreciate how difficult it is to cross to get a pure breed lineage. Just to bring my point home, I think it was like 2 weeks ago. I don't know how many of you attended the Farmer's Choice training by Oxby. It was an online meeting, and he was discussing genetic makeup of the boas and of the artificial semen. He kept asking is, how do we get the semen for the pure land race? And Oxby was very straightforward that you will never get it. Because that is actually the business they are in. What we are getting is semen from a boa that they are calling Terminal 388. And he was very specific to say that even if you were to take this semen from this boa and have offsprings or a litter for the pigs, do not use that pig to actually give you semen for the future generation. Because the name terminal means it cannot reproduce any further. It is only made to give you pigs to end up in a slaughterhouse because that gene has been made recessive. In most of these birds, most of these cows, this is what they do. So we are only here to consume and to increase the production. So I hope we appreciate the concept on this slide. It's very important, and we need to explain this to our farmers so that they do not lose their money from the genetic makeup of the birds. What the farmer can influence is the environment, which actually is around 50%, which is the feeding, which is the housing, the biosecurity, disease management, and the rest. Poultry houses. I'm sure we have gone through this, but we have to do an overview because of the theme and the topic. We have the battery cage system, we have the free-range system, semi-free-range system, and the deep litter system. That is the deep litter system, which we are very much used to, and I think most of us have visited houses like this. The question is the farmer's house as good as this? Because it has to be an ideal house. This is a deep litter system, but most of our farmers are doing so much innovation in the housing to a point that they are not getting it right, and we need to help the farmer to end up with a well-ventilated house that has east-west orientation to ensure that they play their part in the 50% makeup. This is the battery cage system. I wish you could appreciate this. This is one of the systems I didn't know we have in the country. This is a picture I think I took a few years ago, and it's an improved battery cage system. You can see it has around 6 floors up, and it is actually automatic. The whole system is automatic. Even the eggs, you do not go collecting the eggs like the normal battery cage system we have. The eggs have a conveyor belt. They always come at the end here, and you can just collect the eggs from where you are seated. This system can be run by only around 2 workers, and the capacity is very high because instead of having the normal 2 or 3 cage system, it is gone all the way to 6 cage system. And this one room, I believe it was housing more than 100,000 birds because of the intensiveness of the battery cage system. So we have to appreciate the new technologies so that when a farmer asks you about this, you actually know it exists, so that you can advise them accordingly. So make use of visiting farmers to see what is happening, because I think this is the second of this system I have seen, and I'm hoping we are going to get more of this. It's a lot of investment. If a farmer can invest all this money into this system, then that farmer is serious, and you need to be able to advise them correctly. So, as I'm saying, I know you can't appreciate how it looks there, but maybe you'll see it later on the laptop. It's way clearer, and it's one of the houses that the birds will have. But this is not for the chicks. The chicks cannot survive in the battery cage system. This is for later, especially for the layer birds after week 8 to week 10, all the way to when they start laying at around week 18. The most common poultry house system is the free range system, the deep litter system, which I was saying you must advise our farmers, must be open-sided, the side walls should be 3 feet high, the floor should be plastered, must be bird and rat proof, must have a foot deep with a disinfectant, of course, rectangular in shape, east-west orientation, maximum 10 meters wide or 33 feet wide. This is a very major issue, especially with our broiler farmers who want to extend or rather increase the numbers of their birds. The house can only be 10 meters wide, maximum. Ensure that you push this agenda to the farmer. What is happening is most farmers are living on a 50 by 100, so they have built their house at the end, and the poultry business is at the end, and when the business is, they want to keep more birds. So what happens is, they'll call you and they tell you, if I just extend 1 meter, is there going to be an issue? There's a reason that we are pushing for the house to be a maximum of 10 meters. It's because of airflow. Anytime you're talking about poultry, you're talking about day-old chicks, and there is no continuous airflow, you're going to have serious problems because of the ammonia buildup, because of coccidiosis, because of the viral contamination, because of so many other bacteria that are already coexisting in the environment. So ensure that you discuss the width of the house. The length can be as long as they can, but the width is of great focus because of continuous airflow. It has been researched that from one end of the house to the one end of the house, airflow can only move from that end to around 5 meters maximally. And that is why we are saying 10 meters, so that these 5 meters are catered for by the airflow from that side, and these other 5 meters are catered for by the airflow from this side, so that they meet in the center. When you have 12 meters width of a house, what happens is airflow will move from that side to 5 meters, then airflow moves from this side to 5 meters length, and you have 2 meters with stale air. And these 2 meters will have a lot of ammonia smell. These 2 meters will have a lot of sick birds. These 2 meters are going to cause massive deaths and mortalities in your birds. And this is one of the issues that most farmers are not willing to listen to, because they want the design of the house to fit in the plot that they have. And that has been a challenge. And even this house, when we went there, the biggest issue we had, apart from everything being so nice, was towards the end of this floor of this house. Because the wind was slightly bigger, there was a lot of ammonia buildup in that house. And even when you look at the production, we could say that one side, which did not have enough air, had less production as compared to the rest. And to get this information, you have to visit the farms. And you have to talk to the workers, not the owner of the farm. Try to see if you can get 2 minutes when you visit these farms to talk to the farm workers. They have more information than you think. All you need to do is to make sure that you are not accusing them. You are just asking them open-ended questions. Where do you get more eggs from? Which eggs are bigger? Where are birds looking sickish? Which area don't you like because of the smell? And from this, you'll be able to gather so much information that you can help the farmer. So ensure that you walk into the houses, you check whether your farmers have actually adhered to this, and ensure that they are doing it perfectly. The height of the house is of great importance. The width of the house and the height of the house. There's a reason why we need the 8 feet. Again, around air, around ventilation. 3 feet solid wall, 5 feet open. Even if the farmer is going to have a story building of a poultry house, because this is where the problem comes in. The farmers who only have 1 floor on the ground do not have an issue with the height of the house. The farmer that is going to give you a problem with the height of the house is the farmer that wants to build 2 houses on top of each other. Because if they go 8 feet high, then the other house has to go 8 feet high, right? That is 16 feet. That is too high. They don't want to go that high. They want to save on costs. So they'll tell you, why can't I do 6 feet for this one and 6 feet for this one? What will happen, depending on the density of the chicks in that house, you will end up having ammonia buildup, disease buildup, and fast spread of disease, which is not economical in the long run. So follow these guidelines when you're advising your farmer how to build a house, and do not pity the farmer when you are telling them to actually renovate the house. It is the ideal house that they must do. So you can, I'm not okay with this housing. We need to call a fundi to slash this area. We need to call a fundi to open on this side, because that is the ideal house that we need. I keep telling my colleagues that we have domesticated chicken. We have domesticated cows. We have domesticated pigs. Otherwise, during the olden days, they were just roaming up and down. Because the farmer's fear is that my birds will get cold. The farmer's fear is that my cow will get cold. The farmer's fear is that my pigs will get cold. You need to remind them that the chicken used to roam out there, and they were surviving by themselves. Was there a house? So what's this point of building the house all the way to the top? You find a farmer with a dairy cow, and it has been built a room, a whole room, all filled up on all the sides. This is where the issue is. So talk to the farmers about the constructions so that they do not lose birds. That is the kind of a house we are talking about. That is what the farmer needs. That is what you need to advise the farmer to end up with. You can see the width of that house is around 25 feet. The length of that house is 40 feet. There is a foot deep there. The height of that house is 8 feet. You can appreciate the chicken wire mesh on this side and on the other side. The poultry house should always be east-west orientation because of the sun rises and where the sun sets. I've visited so many poultry houses whereby the farmers build the house the opposite way, purely because that is the space he has. So if that is the space the farmer has, you need to be able to advise them on what they can do to protect the birds from the direct sunlight, from the direct sunlight when the sun is setting and when the sun is rising. And I'm hoping that we are spending enough time with the farmers, especially when they come to the shops, to understand their problem when they have an issue with the chicken. Because one thing I realized was we all believe cannibalism is caused and pecking is caused by DCP deficiency. I don't know where this concept came from. And when you do postmortem of most of the birds these days, you are realizing that the kidneys are so worn out. You can actually see that there's a problem in the bird system, especially the kidneys. And it's because there's a lot of dishing out of this. And I'm wondering where this is coming from. And I realized this because most of the farmers, their poultry houses are not well built. And they are putting in a lot of flocks than they should. And because the birds are curious, they are pecking each other. But when they get to your shop, because you are very busy, they just need to say, kuku zangu zinakulana. And even before looking at the farmer, you don't know whether it's a male or female or whatever gender, your hand is on. The DCP these days has been pulled ahead a little bit. It's just next to you. And there you put it 400 grams. Henda upatie hiyo. I know, I can see some of you laughing. So you can relate to what I'm saying. It is much deeper than that. DCP is probably the cheapest component in feed mixing. How many of us are into feed milling? DCP is not an issue to such a large extent. I can tell you for money. Most of those farmers you have sent home with DCP, you misdiagnosed it because you did not chit-chat with the farmer. It is not a major issue. We are having enough DCP in the feeds to a large extent, actually, because it is not that expensive. Whatever the feed millers always cut on is what consumes more money. That is what you need to supplement. So the housing could be the problem your farmers are. And the issue is that when they go and they use the DCP and it does not work, when they come back, you tell them, chana na yo company. You turn around, pick from another company, and you tell them, your company imeharibu dawa siku hizi. You try this one. And now these days the farmers hate the pharmaceutical companies. They are saying we are spoiling, we are not giving them profitable products because you are dishing out DCP, left, right, and center. Anyway, back to the housing issue. Let us talk to the farmers some more. They have bigger issues that can be sorted out without medication. That is why I keep asking my fellow vets, do you charge consultation? Because if you have not charged consultation, you must sell something to the farmer. Otherwise, how are you going to survive? That is why anybody who does not charge consultation in this field will always have to sell something. And even before talking to the farmer, you already have a solution so that you can add a few coins in there. But if you have charged consultation, you can actually go to a farm, inspect it, call the fundi, tell him this is what I want done on this farm, and leave. You don't need to sell anything. But once there's no consultation, something has to give. That's what I tell farmers. That's what I tell my colleagues. Charge something so that you do not end up giving what is not supposed to be given. Anyway, equipment. I was talking about this before we moved on. It's very important to check the equipment of your farmers, especially broiler farmers. They have a big challenge. Kindly, if you have a big broiler farmer, tell them I would like to visit your farm. Even if they keep coming to the shop, be candid enough to tell them, you know what, I think this month you have bought so many drugs. Can I visit and see what is happening? You'll be surprised to get there and find only 2 feeders are working. You'll be surprised to get there and find only 1 feeder is working. Only 5 feeders are working. The birds are trying to find where to eat, but the farmer is waiting for eggs. The farmer is waiting to sell the birds at 42 days, at 35 days. It will not happen if the birds are not eating or drinking water. Advise the farmer accordingly when it comes to the equipment, the feeders and the drinkers. The ratio is there, around 30 to 50 birds, around feeder, around drinker. The automatic drinkers are actually more problematic than the manual ones at this juncture because of the blockage. Have you realized that? I've had around 2 or 3 farms which I've visited, and we have realized together with the farmer that the drinkers are not draining in water. That one drinker actually popped out and it's just pouring water into the chicken house. Have you found those incidences? So visit the farms so that you can advise the farmer accordingly. Brooding. Brooding is a very important topic. And I think we can spend more time on this before we move on to the next topic. Brooding period between day 1 and day 14. It is the most important time in a bird's life. Mistakes made during this critical time may be irreversible and negatively affect the performance of the entire flock for the rest of their lives. Make brooding make sense to the farmer. Most farmers are willing to spend the money, but they are not willing to manage. And the one thing I keep asking the farmer, are you available in week 1? Are you available in week 2? At least if you are not going to be available in both weeks, during brooding for the first 7 days, be there. Advise this to the farmer and explain to them why. Because organ development, differentiation of cells happens during this time. Calf rearing in dairy animals is the most important aspect. From day 1, for the first 1 month. Because again, the mistakes made during that time are irreversible in the adult age. The same to chicks. The mistakes made in the first, if the thermometer reads 33 degrees, if the thermometer reads 40 degrees, just for 20 minutes, that damage cannot be quantifiable because you'll not be able to see it. By the time you get back, the temperatures will have gone down. But at some point, those chicks were exposed to very extreme temperatures just for an hour or 2. And that will create a lot of damage to the internal organs, which are actually developing at that time. So ensure the farmer understands this concept. The chicks cannot regulate their own body temperatures for the first 4 to 5 days, and it's never complete up to day 14. And if the farmer knows this, it means that there is no sleeping. Before you give the farmer, especially the new farmers, day-old chicks, tell them there is no sleeping in the first week. And this means somebody has to sit in there and ensure the temperature regulation is within, or buy a good digital thermometer that can trigger an alarm when the temperatures actually go past a certain level, which is possible. But if we are going to end up with the temperatures going too low or too high, then we are going to have problems with the chicks. The digestive system and the organ development is rampant during this time. The immune system development, and the birds will stay with the immunity to the rest of their life, will be affected if anything happens during this brooding time. Long bone frames development. You have farmers talking to you about my broiler birds at week 3 cannot walk properly. My broiler birds at week 4 are having this challenge. Go back, talk about the brooding. Ask the farmer precisely what happened during brooding so that you can understand where the problem starts. Because the dishing out of medications will not help these birds. The first week represents 20-25% of the total production period in a broiler. And remember, a broiler will come in at around 42 grams. And by the end of the first week, the optimum weight should be around 175 grams. That is almost 4 times the weight in less than 7 days. It's extremely strenuous. There is a lot of stress on this bird to actually outdo its performance, to ensure that the organs develop so fast. And remember, the muscle is developing so fast, requiring vascularization, oxygen supply, so the internal organs must grow at the same rate. And from brooding, mistakes made during brooding, that is how we end up with a lot of heart attack problems in broiler birds. Ascites in broiler birds. The problems are in brooding. And that is why you are trying to really sort out this problem at week 3, at week 4, but the mistakes happened way before. And it becomes extremely difficult. How do you grow a heart at week 4? How do you increase the size of a heart at week 4? Because the body is demanding so much oxygen, the body is demanding so much blood, but the heart never developed in week 1 because there was stress. And that is what heart attack is. Because the body can't pump enough blood to supply all the other organs, all the other body parts, with the heart that never developed to the expected size during the same period of time. Brooding is of importance when you know the figures you are actually trying to tick against. The digestive tract of a hatchling is sterile, but rapidly colonized by microbiomes through feed and the environment. The day-old chick that comes in is very sterile and it's very healthy. The question is, how do we start this day-old chick from day 1? How do we ensure optimum, maximum development of the internal organs? If the digestive tract, which is very long, is colonized by a pathogenic bacteria, you are going to have problems in this bird. The immunity will not develop. This bird will never grow to its potential. So it's up to advise the farmer correctly. The yolk is around 20% by hatchling. The first 2 days, the bird is actually consuming what is actually in the yolk. As the yolk tries to deplenish itself, then the bird starts benefiting from the feeds. And that is why during this time, you need to understand that the bird is sterile, the environment in the digestive system is sterile. You need to accept that you do not want pathogenic bacteria colonizing the GIT, because the GIT is of great importance in a bird and even in us. So ensure that the first thing that goes in is not an antibiotic, it's rather a beneficial microbiome. Because these days we are made to understand through innovation, we have pathogenic bacteria and we have non-pathogenic bacteria. And we know they are both fighting for the same thing. So what you need to make sure is the colonization of the GIT is by the beneficial microbes. So that once they sit in along the GIT tract, then when the E. coli comes, because E. coli is all around us, it will find that all the receptor sites have actually been filled and there will be nowhere to attach. Before E. coli attacks, it must attach itself somewhere within the GIT. So if you give these birds the beneficial microbes, then these birds will not be susceptible to any sicknesses. Rather, we have been dishing out antibiotics at day 1, and we are asking, what are we trying to treat with this antibiotic at day 1? Yet the bird is sterile. Yet the GIT is sterile. Yet the bird is only 1 day old from a hatchery. What are we trying to treat? Because antibiotics are a treatment. They are not prophylactic, it's a treatment. So we need to do better and actually ensure that the GIT is colonized by beneficial microbes. Optimal GIT development of the hatchling is ensured through providing feed and water immediately after hatching. Housing. What does the chick need? The chick needs a house that will provide an ideal environment. An ideal environment should have optimum temperature. An ideal environment should have ventilation. An ideal environment should have clean drinking water. An ideal environment should have quality feeds. An ideal environment should have light. An ideal environment should have supplementation. How do you help the farmer make an artificial brooder? One, remember the house is open-sided. We built the house with you. It's east-west orientation. There's a wall there. There's a wall here. And because these are day-old chicks, they cannot actually survive in that environment as it is. And that is why during brooding, you have to make something we call an artificial brooder. So ensure you know how to make an artificial brooder. Put up curtains on both sides of the unit. Separate the brooding area using a double curtains. And ensure that you set up a brooder on the side of the house, maybe around a third or a quarter of the house, depending on the number of chicks the farmer is going to get. Place the equipment and put the heat source 2 hours before the chicks. For those who are chick agents, when you know the chicks are coming in, you need to alert your farmers very early. Based on the fact that these day-old chicks have actually been hatched probably in the night, they have actually been injected with some vaccines. These day-old chicks have been thrown into a box, and they are now headed to Thika, they are headed to Sagana. By this juncture, you should have called all your farmers and told them the day-old chicks will be here at around 12. So that when the chicks land there, they do not spend another 2 hours in your shop. That environment is not good for day-old chicks. We have to agree that. Any farmer who does not pick their day-old chicks from your outlet within the hour, you are already exposing those birds to harmful bacteria. And not just that, the stress those birds are having will actually determine whether the birds will survive or will pass on. So ensure that you call your farmers promptly, you inform them that the birds are coming in, and you alert them to collect the birds immediately. And before they get to your shop, before they get where they are collecting the chicks from, ensure that they have prepared the brooder, they have put in the heat, and it is warming up for the birds to get there. By the time they get there, the birds just need to land and start drinking something, an anti-stress, and start feeding. That is how you help the birds in the first week. This is just an illustration of how a brooder looks like. It's an artificial brooder. You can see that we have the drinkers there. The feeds have been put on the paper because you need to cover 65% of the feeds. We have some vitamins. We also have some supplementations in the water. The heaters are there. The jiko is on. So when the birds get here, they are actually getting in the right ideal environment as fast as possible. And for the farmers who always collect chicks from you, I'm sure you can differentiate the prompt farmer from the farmer who picks these birds after a while, based on how many hours those chicks will be at your shop. So ensure that you advise the farmers, and that happens. To ensure, to reduce early chick mortality, the other issue is, what do we give the day-old chicks? What should the farmer do, and why? What should the farmer do and why? One, we have already agreed on the feeds. We have already agreed on the brooder. The other thing those chicks need is, of course, vitamins. Vitamins. These days, vitamins are all over. When you go to buy maize meal, it is what? What is written on top of the maize meal we buy these days? Do we buy maize meal ama tunasiaga? Ukinunua kwa supermarket, there's something that is across every product these days. Fortified. Have we seen that name? Fortified, fortified, fortified. It's because there is a great correlation between vitamins and immunity build-up. So you want to give your birds an anti-stress, an appetizer, but majorly something to support with the immunity. The other thing you need to give that bird is energy or glucose. I want to drop the name glucose because through innovation, these days you do not need to give the glucose is actually an off-label use. Glucose ilitengenezewa tukule tukitoka shule tukikimbia huko, si ndio? lakini sisi watu wa Agrovet tumezileta, tunauzia wakulima glucose. The new innovation, the vitamins should come together with dextrose or fructose. So you don't need the farmer to buy extra glucose on the side. Get a vitamin supplement that has the dextrose, is the number of things the farmer needs to buy. And also get the dextrose, which is more available, bioavailable to the birds, gets absorbed very fast and gets utilized very fast. So let us just get something that has that. We have discussed about the probiotics. We need to colonize the GIT as fast as possible before the pathogenic bacteria gets in. So ensure these birds, you give them something that has probiotics. Ensure the birds get electrolytes. This is the balance of fluids. And anytime there is stress, there is loss or gain of fluids. So you need to avail electrolytes to the birds. Kindly do not administer antibiotics. There is no need. The birds are not sick. You should only treat sick birds. But if you, when you are at home, when you have a headache, you are drinking ampicillin, amoxicillin, then give the birds antibiotics. Because I know we are not doing that. There are just a few products off the label that we always use. But I have not seen any farmer or any practitioner who takes amoxicillin over the counter. Is there? But in our sector, farmers will just take the antibiotics. We are actually dishing them to them, and we are telling them, use this at day one. An antibiotic kills both the beneficial and the pathogenic bacteria. And when it kills the pathogenic bacteria together with the non-pathogenic bacteria, what again colonizes the gut is always the pathogenic bacteria. So you will end up in the same problem. Because when the gut is left sterile, something must attach on the floor of the gut. And that is why I'm telling you, it's a race against time to determine what attaches there. And most times than not, if you give those birds supplementation using probiotics, you are actually helping that chick in terms of immunity build-up, in terms of FCR, in terms of feed conversion ratio, in terms of attaining the right weight at the right time. Otherwise, antibiotics are not encouraged, and we can use antibiotics only when we know what the birds are suffering from. We take a sample, we know the bacteria in the body, we issue antibiotics, and these days, even after issuing antibiotics, you need to give probiotics, because we have agreed something must colonize the gut. And that is not just for the animal, it's also for human beings. Monitor the temperature at week 1, week 2, around week 3, we are almost getting into the room temperature, unless it is the cold season. By week 4, that is actually the room temperature. So week 1, we want the day-old chicks to stay within 33 to 35 degrees. Week 2, 29 to 32 degrees. Week 3, 26 to 29 degrees. Ensure the farmer understands this. Ensure the farmer buys a digital thermometer. Teach them how to interpret the digital thermometer. There are some that are so sophisticated that they can alert the farmer when the temperature goes above 35. They can also alert the farmer when the temperature goes below 30. They have an alarm system. That is the new technology you need to be teaching the farmer, you need to help them with. So that they just set the figures they want, and then they will wait for the alarm. If something happens, they change it. If they are using the brooding GICO, they reduce the heat. If they are using the heat bulb, they actually pull it up, or they reduce the number of the heat bulb that are in the house. That is something that we must help the farmer with. Brooding. How will the farmer know when it is too hot in the day-old chicks? Because this will actually lead to either high mortality or low mortality. The chicken behavior, gasping for air, lying on drinkers, spreading out away from the GICO. Again, this is another big issue. Day-old chicks, gasping for air, looking as if something is not okay. They get to our shop, we are very busy. We are very busy. So the farmer says, my chicks are like this. Your hand is already on a product. Sometimes the farmer just needs to lift up the heat source. So my point at home today is, chit-chat the farmer. Know exactly what is happening. Because we have had issues whereby the farmer is actually having an issue of temperature setting, but yet we keep advising them on drugs to use. Water and food, drinkers, fill not more than a third. Ensure the water is replenished continuously. The chick tray is enough for 100 birds, so if the farmer has 1,000 birds, ensure they buy enough chick trays. If the farmer has 500 birds, ensure they buy enough drinkers, because it is very important during breeding. That is what I was talking about, illustration. There's a heat source in this pictorial, though you can't see it clearly. I am sure the guys online can actually appreciate this better than how we are seeing it here. And the birds are all around the heat source. And the farmer is wondering, what is going on here? There is no enough heat. The second one is whereby the day-old chicks have dispatched away from the heat source. It means there's too much heat. The best is when there is even spread of the chicks. That is when the farmer knows the temperature is just right. And that is what they need to maintain for as long as possible. That's just another illustration from the farms we are visiting. This is the gas brooder. And you can see from that pictorial that all the birds are just below the brooder, the gas brooder. And this farmer will be wondering, what is happening to my day-old chicks? What is happening to my chicken? And they probably leave that heat there and come to the shop seeking advice. You need to be able to have the farmer explain further exactly what is happening. The second pictorial is the opposite of that, whereby the birds are actually running away from the heat source. And you can see they have all pushed themselves to this side. What is going to happen to these day-old chicks? If this farmer will not be able to see this in the next 10 to 15 minutes, there will be stampede. And when this farmer comes back, there will be probably 20 or 30 dead day-old chicks. The question will be, how will you diagnose that? That's why you need to talk to the farmer more, because that kind of a situation is what will lead to mortalities at the day-old chick. Lighting is very important. The first few days, the first day, second day, just leave the lights on so that the birds can adapt, and then keep increasing the darkness hours on the go. From maybe week 2, week 3, if they are layers, by the time they get to the other side, they need to have enough hours to actually sleep, and we can have what we call the dark hours. So ensure that in respect to that, you do not switch off the lights from the word go, especially on day-old chicks. There will be a lot of stampede, there will be a lot of deaths if you do that. Let them acclimatize to the new way. They just came outside of an egg. They just hatched. So ensure that the lights stay on so that they can feed more, so that they can actually have less stress because they can see where they are going. Remember, even during day 1, we had to put a lot of feed on the ground because the birds do not know where the water is, they do not know where the feeds is, so that whenever they step on something, they just peck and they are able to get something. By day 2, day 3, they are able to know where the feed is, where the water is. It is very important. As I said, we domesticated the birds. Initially, a day-old chick would stay with its mom out there. It would be protected against all weather patterns. When it is too hot, it would actually be let out. When it is too cold, it would actually be put into the feathers. So we need to be able to understand that concept and ensure that we get to a point where we can bring the same into the houses. And that is through this. Because if they can't see, they are going to move around. If they move around, they are going to hurt each other. Stress in day-old chicks. There are many factors that lead to stress in day-old chicks. And when the birds are stressed, especially at day 1, there is going to be reduced feed intake, resulting to body weight loss. When the birds come in and the farmer drops them, in less than an hour, the farmer should tell you whether the birds are feeding or they are not feeding. And this is by examination, whereby you can touch the chick and feel through palpation of the 2 fingers whether the crop is filling up or not. So you need to touch the bird and make sure that you feel and palpate a little bit at the crop level and see whether the birds are feeding. Because the feed might not be palatable. So ensure that you know whether the birds are feeding. Increased respiration, panting. results to loss of body water or dehydration, hence loss of electrolytes. That is why we said you must give the birds electrolytes at day 1, so that you can actually deviate the stress away from them. Poor feed conversion efficiency. Stressed birds cannot digest feeds well. And this is the other concept. Anytime there is stress to the birds, they are not able to utilize the feeds to the maximum. And what happens is losses in terms of more feeding. We are going to have reduced fertility, especially in the layer birds and the breeder, decreased egg production, increased mortality, immunity drops, and the weight may drop if stress is prolonged. What are the sources of stress in day-old chicks? I know you know most of this. The one thing I would like you to appreciate is the issue of transport, wherever the birds are coming from. But at least you guys here in Thika, you are very close to most of the chick sources. But imagine the chicks are coming, for example, from Kuku Chick all the way from Eldoret. Before they get to you, I know we get the Sasso birds sometimes from, is it Uganda or Tanzania? That distance is too long for those birds. And they are not feeding. They are going to be very stressed. Anything you can do to help those birds will actually go a long way in their lives. Dietary, change in feed composition. Most of us think change in feed composition means the switch from grower mash to layer mash, the switch from chick mash to grower mash, or the change from starter to finisher. Feed composition changes on a daily basis depending on the batch of the feeds, because the millers might not actually source all the raw materials from the same place. And you will realize that there will be a change in the quality of feeds, even internally while you are still giving the same crop. So change in feed composition is a continuous thing, and this stresses the bird each and every other day. Chemicals, exposure to antibiotics, anticoccidials, and mycotoxins. Anytime the birds are actually given medication, they are stressed. And that is where we are asking, a day-old chick that has come in stressed the whole day from vaccination, from not feeding, then you come and you give it again antibiotics at day 1. What are you doing to the day-old chick? You are stressing it even further. It's the same as vaccinating birds that are already sick. The birds are sick, and you are telling the farmer, go and give Newcastle vaccine. It is not the Newcastle that killed the bird. It is you. Because the immunity was already fighting with the disease. And the bird was really trying internally. The humoral and the cellular immunity were really fighting this disease. When you add on top of that, that is what now kills the bird. So let us be very careful not to issue antibiotics on day 1. And find other ways, because we have innovative ways of making sure the chick can survive. Anticoccidials. Anticoccidials are very stressful because of how they are excreted. Sulfurs have to go through the kidney, which is not even developed in a day-old chick. But you are there with your sulfur. You are there with your amprolium at day 2. So what are you doing to the bird? Stressing it even further. So ensure this is actually not done, and ensure you can improve the life of the bird. Mycotoxins. Somewhere along my career, I've worked with feed production and feed cells. And I can tell you for money, it's not an issue of using mycotoxin binders. Mycotoxins are there. The question is, to what level? So when you go to measure even the feeds, even today the best feeds, you will still find some elements of mycotoxins. And that means this can stress your birds. What the KEBS is looking for is just to ensure that the mycotoxins are less than 20 parts per million. So if the 19 parts per million get to your birds or to the farmer's birds, aren't they not going to cause stress? Aren't they not going to cause infection? So we need to know that the feed we are giving each and every time has something that will be stressful to the bird. And the question is, what can we do? Vaccination. Production. You go to a farmer, there is overcrowding. There is no ventilation. These are stressors. They are going to cause sickness to the bird. They are going to cause the birds not to develop their lungs. not to develop their liver, not to develop their kidneys. The problems will come back later, not at that time. It is when the demand for oxygenated blood is high that we'll start realizing when we do post-mortem that the heart was too small, that the heart never developed during the initial times, that the kidneys never developed, that the liver never developed. These are 3 organs that are vital, that must be helped to develop, to grow in the initial stages of the bird. So let us ensure that we embrace that and we help the farmers. Nutrition on feeds and feeding, good quality feeds that are balanced are very important. And each and every farmer, each and every vet needs to understand what good quality feed means. Because without good quality feeds, then we cannot talk about FCR. Without good quality feeds, we cannot talk about production. Ensure the feeds are provided in a manner that it is palatable. Ensure the feeds are provided in a manner that is palatable, that the birds are actually taking the feeds. And I've told you how to examine that. In an hour's time, in 2 hours' time, just get a hold of the chick and feel whether it's actually eating something or it is not. We have 3 forms of feed. We have the mash, we have the crumbs, we have the pellets. Anybody who is using the mash, especially on the broiler birds, not having too many issues, you are going to get a lot of issues, especially on the pellets and the crumbs, especially where there is high altitude. And this is because the pellets require more oxygen to actually be digested. And you will realize that if the ventilation is not good, or if crowding, or if you're in an area that does not have good ventilation, the farmer will always talk about other conditions later for the usage of the pellets. Always work out the FCR, the feed conversion ratio. FCR. It is very important for the farmer to know whether they are profitable or they are making a loss early enough in life. The feed conversion ratio, or rather the feed conversion efficiency, is the amount of feed given divided by the weight gained in a broiler bird. And it should always range anywhere between 1.6 to 1.7, the FCR. The organism that has the best FCR is a shrimp or a fish, the home farmed fish in a pond. The FCR of a fish that is home farmed, not in the lake, is around 1. The lower the FCR, the better for the farmer. So if you realize the FCR is 2 kilos, especially in a broiler, I can tell you you're already making a loss. And that is why the issue of quality feed, the issue of genetics, there are factors that affect FCR. And the first one is genetics. These days, for those who do artificial insemination, we know we can actually select a bull based on the FCR. Is that so? We can select semen based on FCR. We can say this has better FCR than this. And that is why in the genetic makeup of the bird, they actually consider FCR to check whether that bird will grow to a certain level. So ensure that the FCR is checked. For the layer birds, because there is no weight gain which we are comparing with, you will find that there's a guarantee around for every kilo of feed taken by a layer bird. For example, there is a brown, you end up with around 6 to 7 eggs. So you need to ask yourself whether your best farmer is fitting in that category. Whether the total feed consumed by their broiler by the time they slaughter it, divided by the total kgs of that broiler, is anything between 1.6, 1.7, or less. We have said the less, the better. The animal with the worst FCR is which one? Which animal, when you feed it so much feed, will give you a 1 kg mass? A cow, a ruminant. A beef cow will feed anything between 6.0 to 10 kilos, just 1 kg of. So it's very poor in terms of it. So for the 10 kilos you give a cow, you will end up with 1 kilo in terms of weight. So these are some of the things, some of the measures, some of the indices you actually need to reflect on to ensure that you understand whether the farmer is doing better or worse. We have different feeding regimes. I don't think we need to go through this. We have the starter, the finisher for the broilers. These days, some companies have come up with a 3-stage feed, whereby we have the starter, the grower, and the finisher. The issue is ensure the quality of feeds is up to standard. Not around so much on the pricing, because I know we really base on the pricing, but the issue is the quality of the feed and the palatability and the bioavailability of it. Your farmers have broiler birds, as I said, the chick will be around 40 to 45 grams in a broiler by day 7. To determine whether your farmer is doing well, just tell them to share the weight of their broiler. And if it's nothing above 160 grams, then the farmer is not doing well. If the farmer tells you, after 1 week, my broilers are 120 grams, there's a big challenge there. So you need to ask yourself questions. Is it the feed? Is it the health of the bird? Is it the genetic makeup? What have we gotten wrong? A layer bird, on the other hand, doesn't add so much weight. After 7 days, it will be from maybe 5 grams, you will end up with 60 to 65 grams. Anything below 45 grams should worry you as the vet in charge of maybe that farm. You should know already by the 7th day you are in trouble if your layer bird, if your layer chick is not at 60, it's not at 50 to 60 grams. So this is an indicator that we have to watch out for. And why I put this slide there was to discuss the necessity of us advising the farmer to use the correct feed for the correct chick. Because there's a lot of misconception that because broiler feed, he has so much high energy, let us take the broiler starter feed and give it to the improved kienyeji and give it to the layer chick. You are going to end up in problems. Because the physiology of these two birds is totally different. That is why I explained the genetic from the word go. You are not going to gain by pushing a layer bird in the first week to be 100 grams. You are not helping that bird. Because the internal organ development will be compromised at some point. Because the body will grow, but the internal organs will not grow at the same rate. What you have just given the bird is a lot of energy, which they are going to utilize by converting it to mass or to fats. So let us advise our farmers accordingly. Stop switching feeds. Broiler birds, broiler feeds. Improved kienyeji is on feeds. Layer birds is feeds. There is a rationale around. The parent stock owner knows what is best for the birds. Enough research has been done. For you to end up with a purebred cow, you are taking what, 6, 7 years. In the pigs, it takes up to 12 years. This person has researched these birds. Let us stick to the fees accepted to a certain level. I know we want to be innovative, but in this way, we are not helping the farmer by giving them starter crumbs or rather starter feeds from the broiler for their layer birds. And you can always check later. If you have a farmer who you have been with across these times, you will realize that farmer, those birds will not realize their potential. You will be happy in the first because of the weight gain. What you need to understand is the internal organs development. That is just a chart to tell you where the broiler should be at any one given time. I think this one is something that can be availed to you. 7 days, the feeds it will consume, the target weight, and so on. So ensure that you work with your farmer, understand these figures, keep measuring the weight of the day-old chick when it gets to the farm, measure the weight of the chick at 7 days, measure at 14 days, measure at 28 days. It is of great importance. It will tell you how the bird is doing. So encourage your farmers to buy the measuring weight machine. As I was talking about the feeds, look at the broiler starter. It is very high in proteins and energy for fast growth. Skip everything and go to the chick mash. The levels of protein, moderate protein and energy to meet the requirements of the layer chick. This is the dashboard for every feed miller. They will never have enough high proteins in the layer chick mash, because the layer is going to be here for a longer period. It's going to be here for 2 years. It's going to be here for so long. But the broiler bird is only here for the moment. In 40 days, it will be history. And that is why their feeds will always have very high proteins, very high energy, fast. And that is why you'll always have heart attacks in those birds. Because if brooding is done wrong, the feed is right, the genetic makeup is right, so what is wrong? Then the management has an issue. The 4 circles I showed you. So ensure we respect this and we go by this. Anytime you are feeding your birds, always supplement your chicks for optimum growth, strong immunity build-up, and great gut health. It's very vital. Why we must supplement our birds is that we have some minerals, some trace elements that cannot actually stay in the feeds for so long. Again, we have to supplement our feeds because everybody needs to be very economical in the feed sector. And you realize that things that will actually need to be supplemented to ensure we get quantities that the bird might require. And chick supplementation starts from the vitamins. We have already discussed this. I'm not very okay with this projector. But I see you guys writing. I'm wondering, you must have very good eyesight. You can see. Can we see that? Yes? Oh, so you guys can speak. I thought you can't speak. I don't know what can be done because honestly I can't appreciate that. We are not able to see what is there. But listen to me more. I've really been skipping so much content thinking you guys can see up there. And I see this lady taking photos and I'm wondering, what is she capturing? Maybe we might have to share the notes at some point. When it comes to chick supplementation, and this is what I want us to discuss because we have all agreed somebody is taking care of the genetics and we need to respect that. Let us try to stop being too curious. Sorry to say, Kenyans are very curious. Everybody wants whatever the other one is getting. And that is why every farmer has an incubator so that they can sell eggs to the next farmer. It is an entrepreneurship, which is a good thing to a certain extent. But when it comes to science, it is not so good because what we end up is totally a different thing. So if the genetics has been taken care of, we have also taken care of the housing. We have taken care of the equipment. We have taken care of everything else. What remains is supplementation of the feeds and nutrition. And once you have all those 4 circles ticked, then you end up with production. Water-soluble vitamin supplementation is very important at day-old chicks. The only issue is what should be the composition of the vitamins we are giving. Because somebody said if you want to hide information from Africans, just write it down. We are not going to read it. In these days, we want to classify everything as anti-stress, as a vitamin. And I want to ask all of you, because we have been given the powers to read and to write, can we discuss the composition? Because we have all agreed the birds require vitamins. But how many vitamins do we know? And what do they do? And how are they helpful to the bird? After you have analyzed that, ask yourself, where can I get these vitamins from? Because it is all written. The one thing about each and every product that we come across in the field is that the composition is transparent. And that's why you can't sue anybody. It is you to actually study and learn when you are there in the shop and ask yourself, what does this product contain? What does that product contain? Because as professionals, we are in agreement. We must supplement vitamins. We must supplement amino acids. We must supplement the birds with probiotics, prebiotics, enzymes, and all that. So take time, study these things, and see what is for your farmer. So ensure anything you are giving the birds actually contains the whole benefits of amino acids, the whole benefits of electrolytes, the whole benefits of actually any other supplement that might be helpful to the farmer. So give water-soluble supplements containing amino acids, vitamins, and trace elements. The most important amino acids are actually methionine and lysine. Then when we come to the vitamins, the B12 complex, we have the B2, the B12, the ascorbic acid, we do have the vitamin E. When we come to electrolytes, ensure that we have zinc, we have iron, we have cobalt, and the rest. That is just one of the products. It's called Solvita. I know you guys know it. It's one of the products that we have for the day old, not really day-old chicks, but for the chicks, especially during times of stress, during times of infections, and any time during times of deficiencies. How many of us know crazy chick disease, which we will discuss way later? Crazy chick disease. I have a present. I need to give something because we have confirmed you can talk. I have something to give. Crazy chick disease, which deficiency is it? Vitamin? Vitamin E. Yes. Vitamin E, crazy chick disease. What will the farmer tell you in the shop when they call you? They will not tell you crazy chick disease. What will they tell you? Yeah? My chick is going in rounds. My chick is stargazing. It's going in rounds. Then you ask the farmer, how old? And they tell you 4 days. What's the next thing? What is the misdiagnosis? This lady has misdiagnosed a few farmers, or she has had others diagnose them. What is the misdiagnosis we give them? Based on the fact that we do not have so much time to talk to them. Yes? Yes. He's saying it, but he's saying it in a very low tone. Newcastle. Hiyo ni Newcastle. Imepindua kichwa hivi. Hiyo kwisha. Utapoteza kuku 80%. No, there's no Newcastle there. There's no Newcastle in a 2-day-old chick. There's no Newcastle in a 3-day-old chick. They still have the maternal antibodies and all that. If you got the genetic makeup right, if you sort the chick right, we are talking about a deficiency. We are talking about a supplementation of a vitamin. And yet the farmer is there wondering, what do I do? Because this is not getting enough from the feeds. Vitamin E is very important for the birds. Ensure you give a vitamin that has all the vitamins. Sawa sawa. So ensure that vitamin E is actually available. Curled toe. What's in the curled toe paralysis? What's in a chick whereby the feet and the claw is looking up and it can't go and you're wondering, at least I have a follower here. You know we are in church, I'm looking for followers. Yes, this is again a vitamin deficiency. Vitamin B, B2. The question is, are the vitamins you are giving the farmers having all these vitamins? Because on the flip side, what happens is, because we're in an open market and we need to ensure everything is within certain limits, I will give you a product, it will only have vitamin A and it will not have the rest. But it's still called a vitamin. It is up to you, the professional, to dig deeper, to understand what is contained here and what is the concentration. It goes deeper. What is there? You can have vitamin A at 2 milligrams per kg. Is that helpful? Because of the needs of the bird. We can have a product that has the same vitamin E we were talking about at 10 milligrams. Is that helpful? Yet, we are supposed to treat a deficiency. Every time this happens, the farmer loses. Every time this happens, you lose because the farmer has lost. We are here at the sympathy of farmers. Do we know that? Our career is dependent on the farmer. If the farmer prospers, we prosper. So ensure you give them products that contains all the products. That is Solvita. Chick supplementation. At day old, we discussed the chick must be supplemented. There's a product that contains, one is energy in form of dextrose. We agreed we are no longer giving a side glucose. That's an extra cost for the farmer. Find a product that already has glucose in it. That is the best product for the farmer. Two, find a product that has all the amino acids. Not just methionine and lysine in this case, because we are talking about a day-old chick. You need a product that has all the amino acids. Methionine, lysine, threonine, leucidine, guanine, all of them. You can find this information in the product you have and in the market. Get a product that has all the vitamins for your day-old chick, for the farmer's day-old chick. Vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin E, vitamin B complex, B1, B2, B6, B12. B6 and B12 are very much involved in red cell, blood red cell formation. and also transportation. Vitamin K, very much involved in, is a clotting agent. Give the birds the best they can get, and ensure that they have all this composition. Something else that comes up because of innovation is the availability of omega-3 and omega-6 to the birds. Omega-3 and omega-6, where have we used this? Elsewhere. Have we used omega-3 and omega-6? Where do we get them from? Where do we feed them from? From fish. Yes? What is it associated with to the human beings? Yes? Brain development. Kuna dawa tulikuwa tunapewa tukiwa wadogo. Sijui ilienda wapi. Ilikuwa inaitwa aje? Hey, 7Cs. Is it still available? I think it's because we are no longer kids. 7Cs. What did we usually get from 7Cs? Say omega-3 and omega-6. Because of brain development. What else is actually a function of omega-3 and omega-6? Immunity development. It's very important. Omega-3 and omega-6 are very important in immunity development. And immunity development in chicks only happens in the first week. You cannot develop the immunity after that. So you need to give the bird something that actually has immune development. I've not seen any adult taking 7Cs. Have you seen? Why do we only give them to kids? There's a correlation to that. So omega-3 and omega-6 are vital to a day-old chick. Find a product that has omega-3 and omega-6, because the humoral and the cellular immunity are directly linked to omega-3 and omega-6. Find a product that has something we call nucleotides. Nucleotides. The differentiation of cells. DNA, deoxyribose nucleic acid. RNA, ribose nucleic acid. ATP. I know you remember ATP. It used to come to every question in biology. ATP ilikuwa nini? Yes? Yes. Do you know? Triphosphate. What did we know it for? Energy. Do you remember? ATP, energy. So if you want the cells differentiation to happen very fast, if you want a carrier of energy, if you want the cells to get all the energies that is in the body that has actually been absorbed across the day-old chick, you want to give nucleotides. So find products that will help the bird to develop one, immunity, to develop the brain, and to make sure that all the essential vitamins and amino acids are available to the bird. Lastly, get a product that has energy. That product over there contains all those things. I don't know how many other products have the nucleotides and omega-3 and omega-6. I do know we do have the other batch in most of the products. Ensure that your farmer benefits from that, because it actually gives them an upper hand in the differentiation, in the immunity development, and the other thing we need to ensure that we get right in the bird is the gut health. The gut health of the bird. Chick supplementation, we have all agreed we are not going to give antibiotics. So what are we replacing the antibiotics with? Probiotics. Probiotics. Even these days, I think we are having almost all our foods coming in with some level of probiotics, because probiotics are very essential. Probiotics are the next big thing, both in the human and in the animal sector. Even when we talk about calf rearing, we will always talk about availing probiotics. Anytime we talk about increased production in a dairy cow, we'll talk about the availability of probiotics, because beneficial microflora has become an essential part of us, so that we can minimize the overusage of antibiotics. So your chicks, the chicks of your farmers, will require probiotics, because the probiotics will line the longest organ we have, which is the digestive system, and will ensure that there is no any other pathogenic bacteria that can attach where the probiotics have actually attached. The other thing that the probiotics will do, they will ensure that there is more of immunoglobulin A. Immunoglobulin A is very important in immunity development. The probiotics also will ensure that they do produce something we call bacteriocins, which is actually harmful to the pathogenic bacteria. And through this, it's like you have a natural antibiotic within the body. So ensure that you enhance that by giving probiotics. Anytime you have a day-old chick, ensure the liver is well taken care of. Because I've told you the liver actually grows and develops in the first 1 to 2 weeks. And the liver is of great importance in the chick, especially in the later days. Dealing with those mycotoxins each and every day. If the growth and development of the liver does not happen in the first 2 weeks, you are going to suffer from that. And you can actually assist the liver development through giving what we call liver extracts. The regeneration of the liver cells, ensuring that the liver grows to its potential, is very important in a day-old chick. The other thing that we know about a day-old chick is that it cannot digest its feeds. Neither can most monogastrics, to a certain extent. For you to be able to actually absorb the benefits of lipids, you need an enzyme called lipase. To do what? To assist in digestion. A day-old, even forget about it being a monogastric, cannot produce enough enzymes to digest the feeds you're giving it. So you need to give it something to assist it. And the best thing you can do is to give what? Enzymes. Enzymes like papain, enzymes like amylase, enzymes like hydrolylase will be of great benefit to the day-old chick, so that it can help it digest the feeds very fast and absorb the feeds. Always, organic acids and acidifiers are of benefit. What is the benefit of the acidifiers and organic acids? To keep the gut pH below 7. Because anytime the gut pH goes way beyond 7 to 8, what happens? Pathogenic bacteria grow, multiply, and cause disease. So to ensure that E. coli, which is an opportunistic infection which is already in the gut, does not actually proliferate, does not actually multiply, you need to give, and to ensure the gut stays way below 7 to 8 pH. So acidifiers and organic acids are of benefits. Vitamins, I think we already know what they do. Prebiotics, FOS, are actually the food for the probiotics. Prebiotics are the food for the probiotics. So it's like you have brought in the beneficial microflora and you have given it with the food. On top of this, we have the yeast extract, which is very important to help in immunity. Remember, the birds have just been vaccinated at day-old chick with Marex, these days with Newcastle, these days with Gumboro. Upon vaccination, what is the bird supposed to do? These are live vaccines. It has to produce antibodies to fight the infection. Yeast extract, nucleotides, and also the liver extracts will help in the multiplication and advanced production of antibodies in the body. Remember, as a day-old chick, it has actually already been infected with Marex to assist it regenerate the antibodies to support it. One of the products, or one thing I know for sure is we need the probiotics. We need the liver extract. We need the enzymes. We need the organic acids. We need the vitamins. We need the prebiotics. The question is, how do we give all this to a farmer? How do we give all this to a bird? And you'll find that in very cross-sectional ways, we are selling the probiotics as one. See, we have a product that is purely probiotics for chicken, which contains Saccharomyces and the rest. We have a product that is purely yeast extract. They are of benefit, we have agreed to that. So that is another product. We have another product that is enzymes. We have all agreed enzymes are very important to monogastrics. Even ourselves, we do need enzymes because we are monogastrics to assist us digest the feeds. The food we are eating, we are not able to digest all of it, and that's why there is so much wastage. When you're talking about FCR, feed conversion ratio, if you want to keep putting the FCR at a very low level, you need to ensure that the bird is within optimum, there are no stress, and you have to ensure that the bird has enough enzymes in the body to digest the feed you have already given it, so that it doesn't need to eat more. A farmer somewhere was asking me, why are my birds not growing big, and yet I'm feeding them 140 grams of feed, 150 grams of feed. They are layer birds. And there was no any other sickness in terms of the other diseases and infections. So I asked the farmer, if they are feeding at 140 to 150 grams per day, what we need to ask ourselves is, how much is being digested? And the best and the easiest way to determine this, just tell the farmer to take one bird and quarantine that one bird and feed normally. And you will realize, any birds that are feeding above 120 grams and above, the fecal extract is actually more than 50 grams. So stop saying you're feeding the bird 150 grams. You are feeding 100. It's about the absorption. It's about the intake of what goes into the bloodstream. It's not about what you fed through the mouth. Because if what comes out is 50 grams from 80 grams, the bird has only consumed. And if we respect the physiology of production, from growth and development to maintenance and repair, then to production, then to reproduction. If the bird only consumes 30 grams, which is enough for maintenance, are you still expecting an egg? From where? Because garbage in, garbage out. The moment you start feeding your bird 120 grams, and the fecal excrete of that bird is 2 grams, is 5 grams, and that bird does not give you an egg, we have a big challenge there. But if you're giving the bird all this feed, and it's all coming out on the other side, there's no challenge. Every vet should just be able to tell you, whatever your bird is absorbing is not enough to give you production, because it's only maintaining itself. Are we in agreement on that? Even in dairy cattle, you need to check what is going in and what is coming out. And that will tell you what remains. The difference is what has been absorbed. And grade the growth and development. Secondly, maintenance and repair. That is how energy is splitted, not just in animals, even in human beings. Are we together? That is when somebody who is as big as me or bigger tells me, you know I don't eat. I'm looking at you with some pinch of salt. Because physiologically speaking, the only way you are bigger is because of what? There was some energy left in your body that was converted into fat. But your body can never convert anything to fat before it feeds the 4 stages. The maintenance, the growth and development, the maintenance, the production, then we get to the reproduction. I'm hoping we're on the same level. And that is why the farmer will keep telling you, why is my cow not coming on heat? Why is my cow not coming on heat? This side, you guys don't have those problems. I want you to go to where I come from. And then the farmer tells you, my 5-year-old cow is not coming on heat. You will be surprised the cow they are talking about. When you go to see it, the cow weighs 100 kgs, and that farmer wants that cow to come on heat. In respect to the physiology, does it make sense? There is no enough for growth and development. The bone structure is stunted. Yet you are talking about reproduction. It will never happen. The cow is not sterile. It's actually very fertile. But in respect to the feed you are giving and where we are headed and what you want, it is way below the expectations. You can only say my cow is not coming on heat if you are giving enough for growth and development, for maintenance and repair. Then when we talk about production, then we talk about reproduction. And that is why farmers will keep telling you, I've been milking this cow for the last 3 years or 2 years, but it never comes on heat. Because it is giving you a liter in terms of production, because that is the enough feed you are giving. But then it is not getting into the reproductional stage. It's very important we understand those aspects. And I'm talking about the combination of this product. We do have the probiotics, the prebiotics, the liver extract, the enzymes, the organic acids, the vitamins, all together packaged into one product called Vigorex, so that you don't have to give the farmer so many bottles. 1 acidifier, 2 probiotics, 3 enzymes, 4 vitamins. The farmer might not understand all this. So find a product that has all this together, and most of the time, the practitioners think this product is a liver tonic. It is not a liver tonic, far from it. The liver regeneration is just the smallest bit of it. It's a combination of a cocktail of a product. It's one of the best products I've actually seen in the market. Because if you can give all this to a day-old chick, you are guaranteed you will not need to supplement the day-old chick with anything, and the FCR is well taken care of. This was just to help you understand FCR, the gastrointestinal barrier. And what you see up there is the lumen. Then this is the epithelial cell. And you can see we have tight junctions. And you can appreciate that the intestinal lumen has the water, has the nutrients, has the pathogens, has the toxins on a day-to-day level. This is inside the bud, in the digestive system. And that is why we must protect that barrier as much as we can, so that nothing affects that barrier. The immunoglobulin A, we need to keep supplementing it. Those tight junctions must be maintained. And that is majorly through microbiota. That is majorly through ensuring that there are enzymes in there. That is making sure that the mucus is there, so that any breakage from that lining of the digestive system will lead to disease. Any rupture to that will lead to disease. And that is why coccidiosis is very dangerous. Because what does coccidiosis do? What do the oocysts do? They get into the epithelium of one cell, they multiply inside, then it ruptures, it opens. And the moment it ruptures, it interferes with the lining of the small intestine. In that interference, the E. coli is already in the lumen. It is just seeking a place to get in. And when it gets in, you end up with septicemia, you end up with so many diseases. So we have to ensure to keep the birds healthy, rather than wait for the birds to get sick, and then we treat them. Because we don't want that lining affected. And the more the epithelial cells, the more the papillae, the more the absorption. The moment you use an antibiotic, it affects the dermal flora of this lumen. And the chick starts from zero again. So there's no absorption, there's no papillae, and then we are having now pathogenic bacteria having places to touch onto. And once they attach, they start getting into the bloodstream, and you end up with a lot of problems. So let us try our best to maintain that lumen as it is by giving the birds what they need. We are discussing preventive medicine. It is one thing we have to accept to do, and we have to accept to move forward on preventive medicine. Curative medicine is no longer working, whereby the bird gets sick, we treat it, then it gets sick again, we treat it. It is more of preventive medicine. That is why you can see the hatcheries have taken back the work of vaccination. Because when they are vaccinated against Marex, some of us have never even seen a bird with Marex. How many of us have seen a bird with Marex? Especially on the commercial bird, the exotic birds, the broilers and the layers. How many of us have seen a case of Marex? The question we need to ask ourselves, why are they taking back to vaccinate the Newcastle and the Guboro? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? It is more of preventive medicine. Because anytime a farmer has to treat a broiler bird for 1 week, they are losing 1 week. There is no production. The bird is only asphyxiated with getting better. And getting better means maintenance and repair. So as I told you, growth and development, maintenance and repair, production. Production is when a broiler now starts to add weight. Because it has finished with growth and development of the organs, it has finished up with the maintenance and repair, there is enough energy to go into production. So they add muscle. So if a farmer has broiler birds and they are sick with coccidiosis, first the incubation period is almost 4 to 5 days. Then you treat for another 4 days. That farmer has lost around 10 to 12 days. Is it so? Then they start to pick again. And that is how we are ending up with farmers selling broiler birds at 60 days. We are ending up with layer bird farmers having their first egg at 25 weeks, at 27 weeks. Because there was a lot of interruptions on the way from the day-old chick. Because this chick got sick and we get to treat it for a week or two. These 2 weeks do not go in vain. They must be compensated. When a cow has mastitis, as my colleague was training, he's talking about preventive medicine so that the cow does not get the mastitis. Not to help him with his training, but we have to agree as professionals. It is the way to go. Because anytime a susceptible cow calves down and gets mastitis during the peak period, the farmer loses 3 weeks. Because the first week is the incubation. The second week is when we are treating with the intramammaries. The third week is the withdrawal and then recovery. Then the peak period is gone. The cow needs to come on heat. So instead of coming on heat at 72 days, what happens? It pushes that by a month. Are we seeing how the farmer is losing? The future of this is preventive medicine before it happens. It is bound to happen. But what can we do before it happens? We all know that there is a negative energy balance for the cow when it gives birth. It has to give birth. It has to feed the calf. So what can we give the cow in anticipation of the negative energy balance? We don't have to wait for ketosis to happen. We prevent it before it happens because we can anticipate it is going to happen. We don't have to wait for milk fever anymore. We don't. We know it is bound to happen because of the physiology. So what can we do to help the farmer maintain that graph of production going down, coming up, without interfering with timelines? For me, I think that is the next level we need to start discussing. And that comes with maintaining the lumen of the day-old chick. Broiler supplementation, you can see, you can appreciate the difference of these products is that in the broiler supplementation, there is so much effort being put in the electrolytes. Because a broiler requires so much electrolytes. The magnesium sulfate, the copper sulfate, the zinc sulfate, and also the dextrose, to ensure that the weight is added adequately and to ensure that there is fluid and extracellular, intracellular balance of fluids, which is actually majorly because of electrolytes. So there's a lot of difference on these products. This was intentional so that I can ask us, the professionals, to take some time with these products and read the composition and advise the farmer correctly. This is just a sample. Again, not very happy with how this looks. I don't know whether I need to show somebody who is near here to see how wonderful this presentation looks. That was just to ensure that we can capture the difference between having the 4 circles all ticked: genetic, environment, health, and housing, with the results that we want, true to type. So those are Issa Brown day-old chicks. They were day-old chicks at day 27, and they were around 400. At 1st of June, after exactly 126 days, there was the golden egg. Again, just use illusion and assumption. There's an egg somewhere there. Can you see it? On the second photo, this one, the middle one. Who can see an egg? Can you appreciate an egg? There's no egg. Maybe I can ask him to see for you guys because you might doubt me. Come and see an egg on this side. Not there. Here. Can you appreciate an egg somewhere here? The golden egg. Tell them.
The feeder trough. Below the feeder trough.
Thank you. You know, even when Jesus resurrected, Thomas had to put his finger through the holes to confirm. So you always need a witness in most things. Anyway, far from it, my point is, those birds were day-old chicks at day 27th of January. On 1st of June, there was the golden egg. And these are the birds how they look on 29th of June. And this is exactly 18 weeks and 1 day. And the first egg was there. And by the 29th day, these birds are 86% production. That means you are sure this week or next week, these birds will be hitting 90% and above. These birds, I can attest because I did this experiment to just check whether we can have organic birds. These birds have never been given any antibiotic. These birds have never seen an antibiotic or an anticoccidial. Just proper management, ticking the boxes one by one. The genetic makeup is right. You source the chicks from the people who have them. You ensure that the environment, look at how dry that environment is. Again, you can't appreciate from there, but it is here. Look at the ventilation of that house. I want you later to come and see how the wattle of that bird looks. You are sure it's producing. We can actually have organic production through supplementation, genetic, housing, and proper advice. So it is actually doable. And this is a farm that runs that, and we were able to follow and track it. Imagine if there's a respiratory problem or an infection on these birds. Do we need to find tylosin 100% for these birds? They have never experienced an antibiotic. So I can tell you even a 5% will probably treat any infection on these birds. But because we are teaching our farmers that every day is an antibiotic, it's just a matter of switching. I was telling a colleague the other day, now that you have already used the tylosin 100%, not talking about the brand, just talking about the composition, the tylosin 100%, if they fall sick again, and they are tolerant to the 100%, do we have a 120%? Have you seen ever a 120%? We should stop appreciating the high tolerance of the antibiotics. Because the further we go, the more we limit ourselves, the lesser we have options when it comes to treatment. Help the farmers manage the farms, minus the antibiotics. It is doable. Then I think measures of controlling diseases in chicks, definitely security must be there. Chicks biosecurity should be top-notch. The foot bath must be there. It must be changed every 1 to 2 weeks. Ensure there is vigorous disinfection of that house. How much time do I have? Oh yes, it's okay. I'm almost on the last slide. So ensure that you appreciate biosecurity measures, disinfect the house, fumigate the house. The foot bath in this home, we change it every 7 days, and every 7 days when we change the foot bath, we fumigate the whole house. As a routine, every week, every Saturday, it must be done. Just fumigation, no disease, no nothing. Then we change the foot bath. Then we supplement the birds with something. We can either choose this week we are doing Vigorex, next week we are doing supplementation of Solvita or any other vitamin, next week just one supplementation at a time. And that keeps the immunity at the top level. That keeps the bird alert. That ensures that there is no disease that is actually building up. Because coccidiosis has to build up to reach a level that it actually causes disease. We have to appreciate that. So it's just an idea to keep the load going less and down, and ensuring that it does not get to that level when it actually causes a disease. So biosecurity is very key. Rodent control is very key. Fly control is very key. Vaccination is very key. Marex vaccination. I've asked you, the improved Kienyeji birds, who is vaccinating these birds? Where is this vaccine coming from? This explains a lot. NCD, Newcastle. Now we are having pre-vaccinated birds, which is a very good thing. But we need to do boosters. NCD is caused by Pyromyxiviridae virus. And you will end up with almost 100% mortality, and the morbidity is 100%. Infectious bursal disease, very dangerous virus. We need to actually vaccinate our birds. It is actually being done at the hatchery level these days. All you need to do is to booster, and this actually helps the farmers to ensure that their birds, their day-old chicks do not die, caused by infectious bursal disease virus. The mortality again will go up to almost 70% in case your day-old chicks gets the infectious bursal disease. It does not affect the elderly bird. It will always affect the chicks and the layer birds to a level of around 8 weeks. It does not go beyond that. So you have to take care of the day-old chicks. Proper diet and supplementation, early diagnosis and treatment of diseases, stress management. Anytime chicks are stressed, they are susceptible to diseases. Anytime your birds look like they are under the weather, if you do not supplement them, any infection that is coming in will actually lead to their death because of the naivety of these birds. All in, all out has to be encouraged. Broiler farmers ensure that they do not bring new day-old chicks when they still have other elderly birds, because the other elderly birds are actually shedding the virus, shedding the oocysts. It's only that they have actually grown the immunity, but they are still shedding the oocyst eggs. So ensure what you do is that ensure that there is no stress to the day-old chicks, and ensure that they clear the flock out, they disinfect the house and probably the environment with heavy-duty disinfectants. You know there are categories of disinfectants. And as the practitioner, as the vet, you have to know that. All disinfectants are not the same. So let us stop telling the farmer this can be used in every case. There are some disinfectants that are stronger than others. And you need to learn which one is stronger, which one is not. When a farmer has a case of gumboro, you are not going to give them the same disinfectant you gave a farmer who is actually going to fumigate or to actually do a routine disinfection. You'll give them two different disinfectants. Let us as practitioners accept this and learn about this, because something like phenosol can never be used anywhere near the chicks when they are in, but it can be used at the foot bath. Whenever there are diseases, FMD, Gumboro, Newcastle, this is a heavy-duty disinfectant. That is how when you use phenosol in terms of disinfection. Whenever there is FMD, whenever there is African swine fever, don't use the disinfectants. Find something we are calling heavy-duty disinfectants and help your farmers clear and ensure that the disease is actually cleared. But whenever the farmer wants to have no more disinfectants, they are what we call eco-friendly disinfectants that can be even used in the presence of the birds. And let the farmer just fumigate the house. Ameleta chicks to lay. After 7 days, let them fumigate the house. While the chicks are, you will realize there will be less cases of disease, and the farmer will appreciate what you are doing for them. I think I needed more time, so I will not start on this topic. We might have to do it some other time, because the next discussion is around the diseases. So we can appreciate that we have gone through, just want to go back to the beginning so that we see whether our objective has been met. We can appreciate, we have discussed something on the genetics, we have discussed something on the environmental conditions, the housing, the equipment, the brooding. We have discussed deeply on the nutrition and the supplementation and the health of the bird. The only thing we have not discussed is the disease management. Maybe this can be done at a later time so that we actually complete the whole topic. But up to that point, I would like to know whether there is any question or comments about what we have engaged on. Some of these products are at the back there. You can appreciate them as you go for lunch. You can talk to the Atlantis crew. They are back there. They do have all the products you might need for the management of the day-old chick. They do have even other products, like this board here is on white energy, Ketonex, and Supercal. Anytime we know you treat the cow farmers on fever, there's a management tool there called Supercal. Every time the cows have negative energy balance, we know we are talking about ketosis because of the wasting. Rather than waiting for it to happen, there's a treatment, and there's also a prevention measure through Ketonex. Every time your farmer's cow has given birth, they do need extra energy. And I'm hoping by now we know extra energy is not actually contained in carbohydrates. Extra energy is actually more these days in fats, especially if you can get something that is bypass. So there's something called their white energy. It's quite an interesting product. You can learn about it. It's fat that is actually rumen bypass. So it doesn't get digested. It just crosses over and actually is converted to energy and absorbed. And that ensures that your farmers' animals keep production for the longest time. So visit the stand there during lunchtime or after. We can engage further, we can discuss further. I wish to stop at that note. This should always be with you, the end result of what the farmer wants, so that you can guide them accordingly. Tusimamie hapo. Okay.
Yeah. Swali kwa daktari tafadhali, kama tunalo swali lolote. We have a question. Ama tukikosa daktari waulize swali. Tuko na swali lolote kwa daktari? We are coming to the end of our second session, and so we need to appreciate daktari kwa kazi nzuri ambayo ametufanyia kutoka 11 all the way through. So to our people who are online, we are going for a break for about 1 hour. We will be informing you when we are coming back. That is exactly after 1 hour. So for them that are online, you can switch off your gadgets now so that you may engage us in the afternoon. Thank you very much. So for us who are inside, yes?
I understand the online guys are asking for my name. I'm Dr. Nicholas WAMBUA. My contact is 0719-833-426. You can reach me for further engagements. I hope that is all. 0719-833-426. Nicholas WAMBUA. Asanteni.
No, wanasema hawajapata.
Oh my goodness. That's why you are not responding to my questions. Ama mmenisikia? 0719-833-426. Tuko sawa hadi hapo?
Sasa nataka tutumie daktari. Nataka tutumie mikono yetu vizuri. At least we appreciate him kwa kazi nzuri ambayo amefanya. Ndio mkono wako vizuri, tuangushe mara moja. Thank you sana daktari kwa hiyo kazi nzuri ambayo umetufanyia. Na naamini tumeweza kuelewa na kukumbuka. Now we are waiting for lunch. We want to request us to take the lead time possible. Kila mmoja wetu amepewa akani. Na kuja na sasa wageni kwa upande mwingine, wale wetu wanakuja hapa.